so glad that you've hung in with me to the end of this little series about how to tell your story. It's so, I think, challenging and a little scary for us to talk about God in our culture today. But I think that there are ways that we can do it naturally if we give it a little bit of thought, that God will open the doors of opportunity. So what I wanted to do after talking about all these steps, it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to actually do it. And so I wanted to tell my story. I'm going to try to do it in about 3 minutes. And I want you to listen for the parts. So part number 1 is that I'll tell my story. Part number 2 is to connect my story to the other person and how they feel. And then step number 3 is to make Jesus the hero of our stories. And step number 4 is to leave them with inspiration. Now, I've got a little card in my lap just to remember what I called these things. And you know what? Our conversations are going to be more natural than what I'm actually going to present today. But I just wanted to give you a little picture. So what I decided to do is I have a lot of stories I could tell, but the one that I wanted to do today has to do with a loss. And I think that when someone dies, that it opens a big door to talk about God and eternity to the people around us. So that's the one I'm going to share today. I am so sorry to hear that you lost your friend. Can you tell me a little bit about her? This is where we listen, right? Because the listening's important, part 2. Over 10 years ago, I had a friend that I lost, and it was so difficult. I met Linda during a really difficult time in her life. I had this really happy job at my church where I went and visited the new moms, and I would take them a little gift from the church, and we'd talk about some of the joys and the struggles of being a mom with a new baby. I had a new baby at the time too. One day the church called me and they told me that there were some sad circumstances along with the joy of this brand new baby because my friend Linda, we later became friends, she had been diagnosed with a very rare and aggressive form of breast cancer in her first trimester of her pregnancy. Her third trimester, she had actually had chemo while she was pregnant, and so she was home from the hospital with this brand new baby and having treatments for this rare cancer. It was an unbelievable experience to get to know her. She was such an amazing woman. She was so friendly and open, and at a hard time of life when people kind of circle the wagons and usually just have a limited number of friends in her life, she let me be a new friend in her life, and it was such a gift to me. She was an incredible woman of faith, and I walked that journey of cancer with her for 6 years. And during that time, even though I'd like to tell you that I did, something for her, encouraged her, or whatever, I'm not sure how much truth is really in that. What I know is what happened in my life because of knowing Linda. And at the end of that 3 years, when that little baby was 3 years old, soon after his birthday, Linda died. That was such a hard time in my life, and I'll bet that you're having a struggle too, because even though I love God, I had a lot of big questions, like how could that happen, and how could he let that happen, and she had such a glorious life. What good could come out of that? That was really my challenge, and during that time I struggled, and I talked to God, and I read a lot of books. And you know what? Every story doesn't have a pretty pink bow on top. That's just the truth. And my heart hurt for a long, long time. But today I can look back and I can know that even though I don't understand the whole picture, and it still makes me really, really sad that my friend is gone and that her family is without her as a wife and a mother, that God did use that for good, just like he promised. I watched him take care of her family. And I know in my life it's made a big difference. It's made me really, really want to know him well in the good times so that when the hard times come, that I'm ready, that I know I can run to Him, that I know I can trust Him. So I'll be praying for you during this time as you grieve your friend. I'll be grieving with you because He's put us together. And I'm just wondering, could I pray for you? I hope you heard those pieces. You can hear I didn't do that perfectly. But this is why we kind of need to prepare ahead of time to think through some of our God stories so that we're ready to tell them in your everyday life. Now, if you look below, I've included a PDF of a little planner of something that you can write down your story, to think through it, to plan ahead of time how you will tell your God story when God opens that door for you. And I have a great book recommendation. Thanks for watching today. You are precious to me.